All of Nvidia's momentum leading to a lot of bullishness across Wall Street. Bank of America becoming the latest, hiking their price target on Nvidia this week from $1,320 to $1,500. This is now the highest call on Wall Street for the chip giant. The analyst behind the call, Vivek Arya, is Bank of America's senior semiconductor analyst, and he joins us now. Vivek, thank you so much for being here with us to talk about your bullish call on Nvidia. I'm curious, why 1,500? Why not doubling your price target on this name, considering the amount of bullishness and the fundamentals that back it up?
Sure. Good morning. Thank you for having me. So I think there are two aspects to it. The first is where we are in the cycle of converting data centers to accelerated computing, right? The concept of the data center is not new. It's been around since the 1940s. But then we have these multi-decade infrastructure upgrade cycles from the mainframe to the microcomputer to cloud computing. And now we are at the start of what I think would be a decade-long conversion over to accelerated computing. What is accelerated computing? It's a way of taking a lot of very intensive data processing tasks that have to do with images, with voice, with video, with the processing of these large language models, and converting the data center with new kinds of semiconductors to make sure that processing can be done very efficiently. We are just at the start of this cycle. We think that the spending could be anywhere between $250 to $500 billion a year, and NVIDIA is leading the charge. And I know there is often this comparison to let's compare it to Intel of the past, or let's compare it to Cisco of the past, or other parts of the technology upgrade cycles. But what is different is that NVIDIA is bringing a combination of silicon, of systems, of networking, of software, of developers, and that is unprecedented. So to come to your question, technology stocks, the price targets really move because of the size of the market, because of their execution. And even at this $1,500, the stock would essentially be trading at 1 times their earnings growth rate. If you look at the S&P 500, it's trading at 2 times their earnings growth rate. So I would claim that even at this kind of price level, it's actually trading below where the broader market is in terms of the price to earnings to growth ratio.
High target on the street for you, Vivek, for NVIDIA. What is the significance that you see in deals like the one that is being reported this morning? XAI potentially going to be taking the chips that Tesla was supposed to be getting from NVIDIA here.
Yeah, I think there is a race going on between technology companies of various types. We have seen that across the cloud players, who have raised their capital spending forecast to over 40 to 45% growth. Last year, we were thinking that growth would be 20%. It's already 40 to 45%. There is a race between these different technology companies to be the first to support the next large language model, to make sure that they are the destination of choice for a lot of startups who are trying to really kickstart their own generative AI applications. And then this market is broadening from these cloud service provider to a lot of enterprise verticals. And in this most recent quarter, NVIDIA did call out that automotive and automotive customers, which I assume includes Tesla, are part of that really large vertical. So we see this spreading from cloud customers towards automotive, towards healthcare. A lot of drug discovery is being done with this infrastructure. Financial services are benefiting from it. And then the last but not least part that we will start to see more is the rise of this infrastructure among sovereign, right? So we have seen India, Europe, Japan, every country and region, the Middle East, they are trying to make sure that they're able to use their culture, their language to really go and train these large language models. And we think we are just at the start of and that could be a really large infrastructure upgrade cycle as well.
Is it defying logic to you, or just does this make perfect sense?
No, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but on an intrinsic value basis, it's really tough to get to $3 trillion. That said, though, if you were designing the perfect momentum company from scratch, NVIDIA would be it. There you've got a great story, a CEO who sticks to the story, no distractions, is able to meet expectations in the short term because they've set the game up. And you've got a market that contributes to the mix. I mean, I think that you're seeing one of the great momentum plays of all time playing out in front of you.
Well, are you reevaluating, I guess, is the maybe the best word I can think of at least now, of how you would view this stock in terms of its value? If it, if you thought it was overvalued before,
right?
What do you think now? And are you looking at it? Is it forcing you to look at it differently?
Oh, well, with every earnings report, you're always required to go back and look at your basic story. And I think my basic story is bigger than it was a year ago, partly because of what Nvidia has delivered, and partly because of what AI is showing it can do in the overall economy and market. I was listening in on the story about HP Enterprises reporting higher earnings because of AI. You saw that with the big tech companies. I think you're seeing AI percolate, go beyond the architecture part of the business into services, into products, into the rest, the software. And I think you're going to start to see the ripple effect show up in other companies.
So if I raise my hand in your class and I say simply, Professor, is Nvidia overvalued? What do you say today?
I would say based on my story, I mean, 3 trillion is too high a number, but I think this is a story where you could find plausible paths to get to 3 trillion if you add on additional markets. So if somebody says, I'm buying Nvidia because I think it's cheap, it's not my job to argue with them and tell them that it's not cheap. I think the story is, in a sense, and that's one of the things about momentum companies, is there is a plausible path to get to these really high numbers. And when the momentum is in your favor, you'll find those paths.
That's why it's so hard, I guess, to be negative. If you say there's such a plausible path, your words, that people sort of can see that, that's why it's hard to be short names like this. Let me ask you this. When you're last with me, you said, quote, May will be a month that determines how returns for the year will look. So, April was ugly. May, we came roaring back. Does that make you optimistic now for the rest of the year?
It makes me feel much more upbeat leading into the political season, because I have a feeling that the next few months we are going to see the political play come into markets as well. I'm surprised it hasn't shown up more strongly yet, because I think we are heading in an election. There are going to be uncertainties that come with that. But I feel much better going into the summer now than I did a month ago.
Alright guys, this is the part of the video where I'm going to break down the stocks that were mentioned in the CNBC clip. Today we're going to be briefly looking at Nvidia, AMD, Tesla, and Intel. So we'll start with the magnificent Nvidia, up another 5.16% today with no stopping in sight. Guys, we are in new levels day by day, reaching new all-time highs. We have zero support and resistance. We've never been to these levels. We are getting pretty high off the 45-day moving average, which is in blue, and really far from the 200-day moving average, which is in green. But this is what momentum looks like, guys. They have a great story, the earnings to back it up. They have a 10-for-1 stock split coming in the next few days, a brand new dividend, with all of the biggest companies in the world wanting to throw their money at them as fast as they can, guys. This is one of the best positions you could possibly be in. You don't need me to tell you, it's still looking bullish. AMD, the cousin of Nvidia, is supposed to be doing about the same thing, is not following this run at all, to say the least. Maybe you could argue it kind of followed it up the first little run, but what is going on here, guys? This is definitely not higher highs and all-time highs and breaking out. What we do have is kind of a range bound that we're making here with supports and resistance. We're holding that 45-day. We're letting the 200-day catch up. We're rejecting going lower as of now. So if we can break over 175, we're going to be looking very bullish. If we break below 159, we're going to be looking bearish. As of right now, we're on our way back up, so we're going to say it's looking bullish. Plus, we have the chip sentiment to help pull it up. Tesla, a stock that's been beaten down for the last several years, starting to kind of make a base here, you could argue. As long as we hold this ascending support line and then start bouncing back up towards 200, 250, we'll start looking good. If we do break this line, guys, we're going down to 150, and if that doesn't hold, look out below. I am a Tesla shareholder, so I'm obviously hoping this move will hold and go back to the upside. If you didn't see my Ron Barron video earlier about Tesla, go check that out. And Intel, the worst of the group, getting absolutely hammered this last year. You can see basically at the lows of the year, gap down on this last earnings, well under the 45-day, well under the 200-day. We're kind of making a bottom here. We've got a support at $30. As long as you hold that, you could argue this could be a short dead cat bounce play, maybe a get in early play. But if you end up breaking $30 to the downside, it's going to be ugly. So you need to get back above 32 and recapture this 45-day and start making higher lows before this looks positive at all. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and the breakdown. If you did, smash that like button and subscribe. It really lets me know. I do this every day, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.